Well, hello there, my beautiful friends. Today I have a very relaxed, fun swatch video for you guys, and I am going to be showing you every single product that I currently own from Beauty Bar Baby. So if you are interested in seeing these products, then go ahead and keep on watching, and let's jump right on in. So first off, before we get started, I hope you guys are all doing well. I hope everybody is staying safe. I hope everyone is washing their hands and not going outside if you don't need to. I hope everyone is doing okay. Times right now really suck. I am like totally stir crazy because of the lockdown. I feel like I'm just going a little bit insane here. But at least we're all in this together. I think we're all going a little bit stir crazy together. But today we're gonna be live swatching everything I own from Beauty Bar Baby. So I have known about this brand for a pretty long time. Now, their whole spiel is that they make unicorn mermaid-esque makeup. So all their collections are like iridescent-y themed. I'm not super crazy about mermaids or unicorns. I'm gonna be completely like 100% transparent here. I don't really care about them that much, but I do love me a good iridescent makeup launch, and that's basically what they do over at Beauty Bar Baby. And one of my subscribers asked me to do a video showing my products, so I figured I would go ahead and put this together. And I've never made a video on just Beauty Bar Baby themselves. But let's go ahead and wrap up this insanely long intro and get right on into the swatches. So we are kicking off this swatch party here with the only multichromatic eyeshadow flake pot that I own from Beauty Bar Baby, and this delicious candy colored pink pot of sparkly goodness here is called Cotton Candy Clouds. Now this is described as an iridescent bubblegum pink with a rainbow colored shift. Now this is different than your typical eyeshadow pigment, and it's definitely different than your standard everyday loose glitter. This is an eyeshadow flake product, so these are super thin, they are soft, they are buttery, they're meant to melt into the skin, and if you feel them, they just feel very feather-like, they're very lightweight, they feel super creamy almost if you rub your fingers together, and they do not have any sharp edges. That's the difference between this type of product and just your everyday standard loose glitter. They're not going to have any sharp edges. You can't really cut your eye on these guys, and they look so beautiful on the eyes. As you can see, this builds up so beautifully over a nice thin layer of glitter glue. I definitely suggest using glitter glue with these types of products, with eyeshadow flakes and whatnot, because you're just going to want a sticky base for these to stick to. If you are like me and you like fairy-like iridescent makeup, this is the product for you. Now this product is definitely loud. As you can see those beautiful iridescent flakes that are running throughout this gorgeous pink kind of cool toned bubblegummy base. It is so stunning, but it's definitely bright and intense and a little bit loud. But if iridescent fairy-like makeup is your jam, this is definitely a product I suggest trying. It is so beautiful and bright and bubblegummy. I absolutely love it. So now we are jumping over to the single eyeshadows that I own from Beauty Bar Baby, and we are getting started with the shade called Lucency. Now this is a duochromatic eyeshadow. It also doubles as a highlighter, although literally any eyeshadow can double as a highlighter as well, so fun fact. But this is described as having a shifting red, pink to gold sheen. Now obviously we have an iridescent base here, but we have these beautiful red and pink shimmers running throughout this, and we have a nice golden sheen kind of in the background as well. You don't really see too much gold. You definitely see more of the red pink shift going on, but there's just a smidge of gold, which I absolutely love. It makes it so that the shadow isn't too stark white and isn't too iridescent on the skin. Now if you are like me and you desperately wanted to grab one of Jeffree Star's Supreme Frosts, more specifically in the shade, I cannot say it because of YouTube demonetizing me, but you know the name. This is almost an identical dupe in my opinion. Now granted, I haven't tried that shadow, but they look almost identical to me. As you can see, this is a very bright and beaming eyeshadow or highlighter. I personally like to use this on the brow bone and on the inner corner. I like to use iridescent shades mostly there. Sometimes I'll mix these types of shades in with my highlighter, but I never just go straight in with an iridescent shade like this on the cheeks. It's a little too light for me, but if I mix in a little bit of a neutral champagne, it is so beautiful and so bright and beaming, and you get just a hint of iridescence. As you can see, we barely had to work this product into the skin with a brush. It just applied like butter. The next shadow is called Luminiferous. That is a tongue twister. I have messed this up like 3 times trying to say that name. But this is a duochromatic eyeshadow and highlighter as well. This is described as a blinding gold with blue interference. I'm not really sure what interference means. I think it's just reflex, but I think it's just a more exciting way to say reflex, I suppose. But this is described as having a super sparkly, sheer, luminous, almost glittery finish, and can be built up and layered to achieve more of an opaque finish if desired. Clearly, I'm reading straight from the website there, but I think that this product performs exactly in that way. As you can see on my finger, you just see a little bit of like a sheen. You see a little bit of those sparkly gold particles with a touch of green almost. I know it's described as a blue, but honestly, I see a little bit of teal, which is really beautiful in my opinion. I like the kind of teal undertone in this shadow. And as you can see on the skin, this is absolutely beautiful and blinding and super shimmery and almost wet looking to the eye. But I do find that with Beauty Bar Baby's iridescent kind of highlighter eyeshadows in general, they tend to work better if you use a brush. You're gonna see it here in a minute, but I finger swatched this on my arm and it built up fine, but it was a little bit chunky, which is, you know, to be expected with a shade like this. It's got shimmers in it. It's gonna be a little bit chunky, but you can definitely blend it out nicely. But I just find that with a brush, it seems to blend a little bit more smoothly, which is weird because I feel like shadows mostly apply best with a finger, but as you can see, the brush swatch looks absolutely stunning. So does the finger swatch, but I just think that the brush picks up a little bit more product than your finger does, which is weird for me because I feel like it's always the opposite way around when it comes to shadows like this. I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I found this to be true with all of the iridescent shades from Beauty Bar Baby, and you're gonna see that in just a little bit here. It's a little strange, but I'm not complaining. Now, this next beautiful shade is called Oracle, and this is one of their prismatic shadows. Now, this shade shifts from pink to gold to green, and this is just kind of one of their standard multichromes. It's not iridescent or anything like that, and it has a really nice shift to it, but I do think that you have to apply this guy a certain way. Now, they describe their prismatic shadows / highlighters as having a super sparkly, sheer, luminous base. So this guy is kind of similar to the other 2 that I've shown thus far, but as you can see, it's not an iridescent white based shadow. It definitely has a beautiful bubblegum pink base and a very, very strong golden shift. Because of the green undertone that is just ever so slightly sprinkled into this shadow, it almost gives the shadow a bit of a lilac hue to it, which I think is so beautiful. I have so many pink gold eyeshadows in my collection, and I will take more. I'll continue to purchase them because they are beautiful, but I really like that this shade has a little bit of that green in there that just kind of offsets the warmth of the pink and makes it look a smidge more lilac, if that makes sense. But this guy is definitely a bit more sheer. You really kind of have to build it up. If you want a nice wash of sparkly gold with a touch of pink and a touch of purple almost, one layer of this shadow over the eyes will give you that. If you want something that's more concentrated, more true to what you see in the pan, definitely go in with 2 layers. It blends beautifully on the eyes. It builds up nicely, doesn't look too chunky or anything like that. You just have to kind of work it into the skin. But this is an example of the brush picking up the shadow better than my finger. Like, that brush swatch is so intense and shiny, and it's not as chunky looking as the finger side either. I don't really understand. Oracle picked up really beautifully with a brush. It wasn't hard to pick it up or anything, and it dispersed nicely onto the skin. But when I picked this guy up with my finger for the finger swatch, I ended up with hard pan. So I most definitely suggest using their shadows with a brush if you need to. This one in particular, I don't know what it is, but Oracle just tends to get hard pan if you stick your fingers into it. It's like, nope, get your grubby fingers out of me, please. Use a brush. And I don't like getting hard pan in my shadows. It actually really bothers me. I don't understand how to get rid of it. I don't really get why it happens. So that's usually a pretty big pet peeve of mine when it comes to eyeshadows in particular. But because this shadow picks up so beautifully with the brush, I can overlook it. It's the shadows that don't pick up nicely with a brush and also get hard pan that I just want to throw in the dump. And this shadow is most definitely not that. It's a little bit finicky, but once you pick it up with the brush, it is stunning. This next pan of purple deliciousness here is called Fluff. That is the cutest freaking name for an eyeshadow ever. It entices me. I want to buy eyeshadows that are named Fluff and Fluffy and Marshmallow Fluff. I am down for that. But this is one of their Prismatic Sweetheart shadows. I believe that Oracle was one of their Prismatic Sweetheart shadows as well. I think I just called it Prismatic, so sorry. But this is described as shifting from a pale lavender to a green to a gold all in one heart-shaped pan, according to their website. Now, I don't really see a whole lot of green in this shadow. There's maybe a little bit, like ever so slightly, just a touch of green maybe in the background somewhere. To me, this guy is definitely more of a pale lavender with a bit of gold, but mostly pale lavender and red. It is a really beautiful, soft multichrome. As you can see, it's not super intense comparatively to the other three shadows. It's definitely softer. It's more of like a satin multichrome. I'm not typically too crazy about shadows like this, but because of the lilac undertone of this shadow and how pale it is with that beautiful red sheen and the kind of pink and gold sparkles running throughout it, it just gives such a beautiful, like, ethereal glow. Definitely, we're talking fairy makeup again. This is the definition of fairy makeup. And I have some shades that are kind of similar in tone to this shadow, but I don't have anything that's as soft and almost as glowy as this shadow is. That's definitely how I would describe it. It's glowy. It's not overly shimmery or overly sparkly. It's not chunky. It blends beautifully into the skin. Though same situation with Fluff as the other shadows, it just picked up a little bit nicer with the brush. But I really like the kind of softness of this shadow. Like I said, I don't typically go for shadows that are kind of satiny like this, but because of the undertone of this one, it just works so perfectly. It's like the most beautiful, pale, soft lavender. I love it. And the last three shadows I have to show you guys here are from their Trio Face and Eye palettes. Now, I cannot for the life of me find what the name of this palette was. I can't find it on their Instagram. It's not on their website anymore, but I do know that they sell these in single form on their website. So I'm sorry about that. But this first shade from the palette is called Peach Nectar. I was like automatically drawn in by that name. Like, I basically purchased this entire little trio here because of that name. Like, if you name something Peach Nectar, I'm gonna buy it. But this is an iridescent based shadow with peachy gold reflex and a pink shift. At first glance, this might look pretty darn similar to Lucency from earlier. Lucency has a very, very intense and in-your-face red shift. That's basically the first thing you're gonna see when using the product. But with Peach Nectar, you get something that's a little bit softer, and because it does have that kind of orangey, coppery, peachy reflect to it, it makes it a little bit more unique in my opinion. I feel like I haven't seen as many shadows that have that peachy iridescence, and honestly, I am all here for peachy iridescence. I think we should see more peachy iridescent shades. I love me a good iridescent red kind of pinky eyeshadow, but I feel like we've seen it a lot now, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of peach iridescence. Now, I know to some people that probably sounds insane, they look almost identical, but for someone like me who collects iridescent eyeshadows, I can most definitely see a difference between the two shadows. Peach Nectar is just a little bit softer, just a little bit more warm because of the peachy tones that are in it, and it's just an all-around beautiful eyeshadow that's pretty unique in my opinion, although to most it probably looks the same as Lucency. I'll admit it. Second to last, we have the shade Dazzle, which was the middle shade from the quad. Oh my god, I just remembered that I dropped that shadow. Oh, I just had to relive that horror. Literally the entire little disc of eyeshadow popped out of the pan, and I was very, very lucky. I was very careful when I was picking it up and it didn't crumble to pieces in my hands. Like, if you've seen my swatch videos, you know how much I drop eyeshadows, and almost every single time I end up with a giant mess of eyeshadow dust like everywhere. But this guy cooperated, thank God. Anyway, this is a warm lilac-based shadow with a red and gold reflect and red and gold shimmers. This is so beautiful. Like, I die for shadows like these. I have a few shades in my collection that are kind of similar to this shadow, but I really like this shadow because of the warmth that's in it. A lot of the kind of purpley red iridescent shades aren't as warm, and this guy is very, very warm and intense, and you definitely get a hint of the lilac purple, but you mostly see the red shift with just a little smidge of purple. It's really beautiful all over the lid. I think it would be gorgeous on somebody with deeper skin and even deep dark skin as a beautiful purpley pink highlight. Oh, it would be stunning. Absolutely beautiful. I definitely think this shade applies best over top of a glitter glue, just like any iridescent shadow. It's just going to perform better. It's going to last longer. You're going to get more out of your shadow. And I think it definitely applied smoother with a brush as well. You just have to work the brush back and forth a few times and you get a really beautiful, even application that doesn't look too chunky and doesn't look too shimmery. And finally, the last shade I have to share with you guys is called Naked Eye, and this is described as a beige champagne with gold shimmers. I think the name Naked Eye for the shadow is perfect. It is like the most beautiful one and done all over the lid, all over the cheeks type of shadow slash highlighter. This is such a beautiful champagne gold, but you have those really interesting kind of golden shimmers, if you will. It's almost got like an iridescent gold thing happening, but because of the beige base to it, the champagne base, you're not going to get anything that's too intense. This shadow would be absolutely perfect for anybody who's going for like the no makeup look and they want something that's shimmery and sparkly all over the eyes, but isn't going to be anything that's too crazy or too out there. You're not going for that purple red iridescent shade I just showed you guys. You want something a bit more toned down, but still something that's going to give you a little bit of extra pizzazz, if you will. Because this shadow has that champagne base to it, but it also has those really interesting iridescent gold shimmers running throughout it, I find it to be really unique. I couldn't find a dupe for this in my collection, and let me tell you, I collect iridescent gold shadows. I have a vast and growing collection of them, and I couldn't find a single dupe for this in my collection. It is so interesting. It seems like a no-brainer to pair champagne with iridescent gold shimmers, but I personally haven't come across it before, and I think the shade is absolutely stunning. I like the concept of taking something everyday like a champagne toned highlighter and just jazzing it up a little bit with some iridescent gold shimmers. I think that Beauty Bar Baby took a very kind of bland everyday based shadow and amped it up quite a bit and made something really beautiful and pretty darn unique. Alright, my beautiful friends, but I have run out of products from Beauty Bar Baby to show you guys here. I honestly thought that I had more. I think I do have one of their highlighters like tucked away somewhere in my collection, but I could not find it for the life of me. So clearly, once everything goes back to normal, hopefully sometime soon with all this craziness in the world, I can get back to trying new brands, trying new products, and I definitely want to try more from Beauty Bar Baby because I have been pretty darn impressed with everything that I've tried thus far. But I really hope that this was helpful for you if you've wanted to try the brand, if you've been looking at them and you're like, I don't really know what to get, I don't really know too much about them. I hope that seeing these shadows swatched and in action was helpful for you. If it was, I would absolutely love it if you gave me a big old thumbs up. It helps out the YouTube channel and it helps out microscopic, minuscule, teeny tiny YouTubers like me. So if you choose to do so, then thank you so much. I greatly appreciate you. And if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more, why not hit that subscribe button as well? But with that being said, I hope you are having an absolutely amazing and beautiful day wherever you are. And thank you so much for joining me here today. Stay safe, stay beautiful, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!